My MC! My series, bro! Like, straight up. Like, he's even going for the fill, bro! Shameless. Pure shameless. Like, dude, what an episode of Mushoku Tensei. Like, romance anime and manga they wish and they can only dream of reaching this point to where the main character romances the girl, gets with the girl, and proceeds to basically find out that yes, his wife is pregnant, straight up pregnant, is going to have a child soon. You can only dream of something like this in some of your favorite romance, and to actually see it in, of all series, an isekai is just mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing, the amount of themes and just the progression of the characters, and it's not entirely focused on action. It's such a breath of fresh air. Like, it really is. Like, I cannot express that emotion enough, because it's like, there's so often when I'm sitting down and I'm watching, like, not just a romance series, okay, or slice of life, but, like, watching an isekai, okay? And it's very clear that with the story that the MC is going to get together with this so-and-so main female character, okay? And it just, the series is nothing but, like, teasing. It's just, like, there's no progression, it's teasing or misunderstandings, and really no progression in that end. And I know, technically, when it comes to isekai, the romance isn't, like, the main focus of the story. I fully understand that. But it's like, you're not telling me when characters are traveling together for months, years, etc., there isn't some form of growth with their emotions with each other. And the fact that Mushoku Tensei does that, I really appreciate it. I appreciate it more than I can ever express with words, because it really just, it makes me so happy that this series is popular. Now, I know there is a lot of controversy, I know that there's a lot of drama surrounding Rudy and the series, etc., and that's going to happen with any series when it gets popular, but regardless of all of that, those people that, come into the series and start talking about episodes, etc., in bad faith, they're missing out. They legitimately are missing out on such a fantastic story that, honestly, the last time a series, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, the last time a series actually got me this emotionally invested, okay? There's two series that come to mind, okay, that really emotionally invest me to this degree. That is, obviously, Re:Zero, but also Tokyo Ghoul in terms of the manga. It has been a long time since I was that emotionally invested, and I love this story for that. I love Mushoku Tensei for constantly keeping me on my feet and just, like, wondering how, the series is going to go next with the anime. And let's talk about that for a second, okay? This episode in particular really has such an interesting way of its writing, because obviously most of the episode, it just wants to present to you that Rudy is living a very good life. Like, he has a home, he has a family, he has his two sisters, he has a wife, he has a kid on the way, he has a great, a group of friends that he can communicate with, he has connections, he has money, he's strong, he's not necessarily weak, it just, everything about, like, the first half of the episode presents itself in a way that Rudy really has everything going right in his life. Everything about his life at this current point, he's happy. Like, and it's just something that, honestly, many people might either be very envious and jealous of and really not like Rudy for, which I can understand. Envy is a really strong and gross emotion, but it's really strong. Or people just be straight up happy for Rudy. And regardless of your emotion, though, everything for Rudy goes right. Like, in this first half, it really just wants to give you that information that, yeah, Rudy's life is so much better than it once was, and he has found happiness. And it's like, it's the dream goal. I think what this moment of the episode really shows is that this is the goal I think anyone in life, truthfully, pushing aside everything, I think one thing that people always seek is happiness and comfort. I think that is a big thing that people seek. And what Rudy achieves is pretty much an in-game goal that I think the average individual is, wants to achieve. It's the main goal, so to speak, of life. And I think everything that has happened in his life, he's achieved. Like, this is what people strive to achieve in their life, to reach this point of happiness, to be able to be with their, girlfriend slash wife, to have a child, to, have a group of friends that they can just be happy with and talk with and chill with. There's just so much here with Rudy's character that just represents the ideal life. And it gets back into what I said at the beginning of the video, is that romance anime and manga can only dream of reaching this point. And even if it does reach this point, it's pretty much just the series stops as soon as the characters mention that they're going to get together and, they're going to marry. That's literally when stories most likely end. Sometimes you might get an epilogue, a brief epilogue with a time skip where they have a kid, and that's about it. And, it's really sad. Most stories don't showcase the epilogue, or, after the characters get together. And that's one of the big reasons why I really am drawn to Mushoku Tensei, why I love it so much, and I think so many people love this series for that, is because the story has just everything. It has the early life of Rudy being a little, just a little jerk, just being an absolutely bad person, to growing into being a better person, to the discovery of magic and learning, etc., in the whole new world that's before him, to him meeting someone that inspires him to change for the better, Roxy, and then eventually being forced to, go on a whole adventure, which gets into the fantasy vibe of just exploring a world with Eris and Ruijerd, and then eventually going to a magic academy to settle down and have a house, etc. Just, I love the different themes, the different, ups and downs, the hurdles that Rudy as a character has overcome, and it's so nice to see a story actually show progression, show the passage of time, showcasing that a character isn't just stagnant, sitting there and just going from one place to the next and not really growing whatsoever. And let's explain that a little bit more in depth, okay, because I feel like I'm not properly explaining that. Most stories, they use the character or the world as a vessel, just to move the characters to one point to the other. And what I mean by this is, it's like you'll have a character, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because it can be done right. Like, you'll have a character, like, the plot of the story is a character, okay, so he needs to go to the Magic Academy, and then after some time passes, he does some things, he gets some character growth, and then the character now needs to go to another country. And even though there is clearly probably a few years that have passed, you don't really see the character grow in terms of age, you don't see them looking like they're getting older, and it just feels like the overall relationship with other characters is pretty stagnant. For instance, there's no romantic feelings on the side. It doesn't feel organic. It feels very forced, because it's only focusing on the narrative and not focusing on also little things that should be progressing on the side as well. And in that case, that's where Mushoku Tensei does very well with, is that it's not just Rudy growing and seeing him age, but every character is growing. The world is moving on with or without him. It does not matter. You see that. And I feel like this perfectly is illustrated with just this first half of the episode, but also just the series in general. It's so fantastic, and I cannot get enough of just how amazing Mushoku Tensei's writing is, and that gets into the second half of the episode. Despite all of this happiness and the great news of him having a child, and just having the perfect life here that people would be envious of, we move into the second half, which is where Rudy gets the devastating news that his mother needs rescued. And anyone that is a Mushoku Tensei fan, when they see the iconic Turning Point title, they know they're in for something bad. PTSD, because the last time we had a Turning Point episode was when the Dragon God put a donut hole in Rudy. So when you factor all of that in, yeah, Turning Point episodes are pretty scary, because that means that the story is entering into a shift of tone, and something is about to happen, good or bad. And in this case, many might look at this episode's turning point as it's not as dramatic as, obviously, the Dragon God putting a hole in Rudy, okay? Obviously, it's not as action-packed and just pizzazzy, okay? But it doesn't change the fact that this episode's impact, in my personal opinion, I think is probably the biggest turning point of the story thus far. And the reason for that is because Rudy has everything. And that's what I wanted to illustrate at the beginning of this video, is that Rudy is having a perfect life. And now he receives a letter that his parents are in trouble. That Zenith has been found, her rescue is difficult, Paul needs help, his entire crew needs help. And so, at first glance, when you look at this letter that's sent to Rudy, it's obvious. Go save your mom. That's what obviously comes to mind. Anyone just looking at this alone and not really thinking too hard about, say, just go save your mom, Rudy. do it. But there's so much more complications to just that alone that needs to be discussed. So what the complications are is that Rudy, upon this information, just found out that his wife is pregnant with his child. It's obviously his first child. It's very significant, regardless if it's his first, second, third child, whatever. It's significant. His wife is pregnant. And anyone that knows how pregnancies work, it takes almost a year for a wife to undergo pregnancy and then eventually have a child. And Rudy mentions, he does mention that the journey to the continent to get to where Zenith is and needs help is going to take a year. So you factor in if he was to leave literally at this exact same moment upon this information he found, like the day of, he still would not make it in time for his child's birth. Because even if, hypothetically, okay, he was to leave, he would get to the continent, his child would already be born, and then he would travel back. That's give or take. Let's say he was able to settle the stuff with Zenith, like he was to get it done within a week, okay? Let's just say Rudy gets there, like he left this day, and he got there, okay? And he settled everything, and he helped Paul out to get Zenith or whatever, and he got that done in a week, and then he instantly headed out again. It would take him a whole other year. And so you factor all this in, he's going to be gone for pretty much 2 years. That's not including actually, let's be honest, the amount of time it's going to take to deal with whatever's going on with Zenith. So, let's be honest, let's actually give some proper time here. It's going to take a few months, maybe even half a year. So, theoretically, he's going to be gone from his wife's life with her child for 2+ years, which is scary, especially for someone that is obviously a newlywed and has her first child. It's going to be scary. There's a lot of scary emotions that could just crop up with this because she's going to be dealing with a child on her own. She might have Aisha, she might have Norn, she might have help around, but it's still, she's going to be a mother on her own dealing with the emotions that her husband is gone overseas and potentially in danger and might not even come back because he could potentially die. Now, obviously, Rudy is the main character, so we can assume he's not going to die, but that's not the point. The point of the matter is this is the story from Sylphie's perspective. Anything could happen. Her husband could be dead and she can never hear about him again, which in turn, that stress alone could cause her to go into a miscarriage. So there's so much that can be factored in to what this means here, with Rudy just upping and going to help out Paul and Zenith. So all that in consideration, it's a really scary moment because it's like one wrong move. If Sylphie, has any negative thoughts, things can really happen. And even if she is a saint and will not, hold anything against Rudy for going to go help out his parents, it does not change the fact that Sylphie is, at the end of the day, a realistic character, and everybody will face those emotions of negativity, especially being on your own. Everyone will definitely experience that, especially, a wife that just has a child or something. You're going to have your hormones and everything flaring. You're not going to be in your normal state of mind. So it's just a very fascinating direction the story takes, because it's pretty much letting us know that if Rudy does go, which obviously seems to be the right answer, and that's what he is doing, he is still leaving his wife by herself. And it's going to be a while, because the time he does get back, let's just say everything goes right, okay? Let's just say everything goes right, Rudy takes a year to get there, and then, he settles it in a week, and he comes back. His child's going to be already 1 years old plus. So he's missed the very important segment of his child's life. For instance, being born, but also the first year of their life. It's going to be huge. And so when you think about that, it's going to hold a lot of weight and significance to Rudy's mind that he missed such an important time period within his child's life as well, and also his wife's. So yeah, just a lot to consider just with that alone. That's not factoring in that if he was to hypothetically stay with Sylphie and not go and save his parents, the significance of this is even more dire, because this basically lets us know that, if he doesn't go, he's going to constantly be wondering, is Zenith going to die? Is Paul going to die? Is my family over there going to be okay? And he's always going to be stressing about this until he gets a letter. And let's say he gets a letter and he finds out, and let's say he gets a letter, and then the letter says either from Paul, Zenith, or whoever, oh, one of us died. Like, Paul sends letters like, oh, we didn't make it in your time, your mom is dead, or something. It's just, imagine the devastation, the emotional trauma of just having a letter sent to you and it says something like that to you, okay? And when you think to yourself after like maybe a year or two has passed that it's like, I could have done something maybe. I could have went and saved my parents. I could have saved Zenith. I could have saved Paul or whatever. When you think about that, the regret there will just bubble inside you and become very toxic. And that's also another side to this. So regardless of what he does, he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. And it's a really important moment for the story, and it just really shows, like I said, the masterful writing of Mushoku Tensei for the author to really balance these things, to make it feel like no matter what Rudy does, he's going to regret something. He's going to potentially lose something. And that is scary, but also great writing. And I think that this is a perfect way to showcase that Mushoku Tensei, honestly, is just one of those series that I think years from now, it's going to go down as a modern-day classic. People are going to look back at this, they're going to analyze it, they're going to, constantly look at different scenes and really analyze what makes this series tick. And it's going to be fun to see those discussions maybe even a decade from now. So yeah, Mushoku Tensei's episode, this latest episode's great, and even the Man God coming in and actually having a reappearance is awesome, because it's like, it's been a while. I'm trying to remember, when's the last time the Man God appeared? Did he appear? Yeah, he appeared at the beginning of Season 2. It's been a long time since we've seen him, and seeing him reappear now at this significant moment showcases that the direness of the situation. And the man tries to give Rudy advice, like, hey, you shouldn't go to the continent, etc., you're gonna regret it. And Rudy, obviously, at the end of the episode, he decides to completely disregard the advice of the Man God for the very first time, and he goes to save his family. This is a very significant moment as well, and I think that needs to be talked about, is that Rudy disregarded the Man God's advice. And from what we know from this point, okay, from the story, that Rudy, he has constantly, I don't know why the episode did that, Rudy has constantly followed the Man God's advice and basically done what he said throughout the story. But this is the first time he hasn't. And so, what consequences is he going to receive for not listening to him? What's actually going to happen? How bad is this going to be? There's so many things, because obviously the Man God is very vague, shady to a degree, and you're always wondering what is his real angle here. But it doesn't change the fact that usually when he does give advice, it does turn out for Rudy's benefit. Let's be blunt. So factoring all of that in, it's pretty interesting just seeing Rudy finally saying, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. So we'll see where that one goes. Now, with that being said, I do think that also this ending sequence of the episode showcases the overall trust that Aisha and Norn have in Rudy, especially Norn now after last episode, where, she's like, I want to go save our family since you can't, and then, Rudy's like, I'll do it, please watch over my wife. It's a very significant moment, because it shows that Rudy's like, look, I'm trusting you. Take care of my family while I'm gone, regardless of what happens. And it's a significant amount of weight that he's putting on her shoulders, but she accepts it. And I think this shows the level of bond that they've grown in these last few weeks to months now, because obviously there is a time skip. Like, this episode does showcase that there is a lot of time that has passed since last episode. Things are kind of, growing a lot better. People are in a better mental state, etc. Even, Nanahoshi is. So it's like, when you factor in everything with, the episode, it's just like Norn and Rudy has grown connected a lot more than they once were. So yeah, I think that all things considered, this is really peak Mushoku Tensei, my series, man, my MC, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. How did you feel about this week's episode of Mushoku Tensei? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Be honest in the comments below. I'm legitimately curious. But with that, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.